Hello and welcome to the Confusion Wrestling Podcast, the last bastion of independent wrestling. I'm your host, Rob Kammer, and, well, what should we talk about this week? Really, I could just, cut to the chase and just say, I'm not sure. I don't feel like it was a big news week, and of course, it has to be super effing big for me to talk about non-independent news or whatnot. So we'll just kind of I'll give you a brief intro to, this week's interview. I got the chance to sit down with Dakota Wrestleford, pro wrestler, of course, and we got to chat it up for a little bit of time, and I must say, I'm gonna throw it out there that if I ever decide to just skip the traditional podcast interview format and do something comparable to late night television, I am totally going to have Dakota on as my guest host. He is going to be the Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson, because dude's laugh is infectious, and we laugh quite a bit throughout the interview, as we are just literally all over the place. We touch base, of course, on his wrestling career, but we talked Tracy Smothers, we talked They Might Be Giants. I was, they totally gunned to my head, but I got to talk a little bit about my time as case manager and direct service personnel for individuals with developmental disabilities, which I don't reference a whole lot on the podcast, partially just because it's been such a long time ago since I was in that field. But the stories to be told are innumerable. But you're not here to listen to me rattle. Okay, you are kind of sort of here to listen to me rattle on incoherently, but you're here for me to rattle on incoherently about wrestling or to wrestlers themselves. So we should probably just go ahead and hop right into that rather than just giving you this giant summary, because you're here already. You're going to stay clear to the end, right? That would be really cool if you did, and tell your friends, neighbors, and enemies that you're doing it too. But yeah, so let's get those pesky ads out of the way. We'll be back. Un momento. Hey folks, the Confusion Wrestling Podcast has become a veritable hub of shopping and treats and all that sort of good stuff. Whether you need a sugar-free alternative to energy drinks in the form of Raise Energy, or maybe even, top-of-the-line ice makers, coffee machines, and other household appliances, or, well, let's go crazy, and you can even get WWE licensed apparel, all through my links section. All you got to do is wander down to the descriptor of this week's episode, check out the various links, click on them, and go shopping like you normally would. Heck, it's no difference. You just came in and just said Rob sent you. And that way, you can get the things you need, maybe even at a discount, and the podcast gets a kickback as well. So be sure to check out those links. Thank you very much for listening. Back to the show. And we are back. Confusion Wrestling Podcast. As I said at the top of the show, got myself a very special guest sitting in with me at the studio in the hot tub filled with pizza rolls. He is Dakota Wrestleford, known Wrestleman, according to his tagline. Dakota, how are you doing today, sir?
Oh, Rob, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Oh, pleasure is all mine. We just off air joked about how I should have had you on a long time ago, since I used you in a Who Wore It Better. But I'm not the most best professional host ever. So I got you on eventually. That's the important thing.
Yeah, you get around to it. There's dozens of things that I could be doing to, stand out a little bit more, but, we'll get to it.
It's all good in the end. Normally, we'll talk about a little bit more about the proper wrestle stuff here in a minute, but I really wanted to start out with we'll call it a faux rhetorical question. I just want to know, I want you to know, do you know how much I pop when I hear your theme music come on? Because I'm first dude, it's They Might Be Giants. Who would do that? And then you come barging out of the curtain. I'm like, oh yeah, and it's Dakota. So I get a double pop out of your entrance just because TMBG and Dakota.
Awesome. I love They Might Be Giants. They're absolutely my favorite band.
I was going to ask, like, how did you settle on They Might Be Giants? Because, like, it seems like most indie folk, want some sort of like tough guy, tough gal, like metal song, hip hop song, you know,
Yeah, something with a big driving beat.
and sounds
But
hard, but like They Might Be Giants, whereas they have their moments, they are not known for, you know, we'll say those genres of music.
no, I'm pretty sure my song starts off with like a keyboard loop or something. But um no, They Might Be Giants have been like my favorite band for, oh god, over a decade probably. My uncle um originally introduced me to them, and originally I was using the Strokes for entrance music, but once I finally got around to like, it's been a couple of years, maybe it's time to switch it up, trying to flip through stuff. And before I got They Might Be Giants, I actually I was trying to look through the Pixies discography. I love the Pixies, but there's unfortunately not a lot of like arena rock type stuff, like big booming stuff. Not saying that They Might Be Giants is a big like stadium band by any means, but I don't, Can't Keep Johnny Down just resonated with me.
It's a real, I mean, it is a really good song, and it does, like, I mean, yes, it starts off with a little keyboard loop, but it has a nice like drivey pop beat to it. And then of course They Might Be Giants is really good at having these peppy songs that are like kind of dark when you sit down and listen to the lyrics about it. Because I am partial to that song just because like the guy, I believe it's John Linnell who handles the lead vocals on that song, like starts like
Yes.
flinging shade at astronauts because they think they're better than him. And I mean, I know the entire song is kind of like about petty revenge. Like that's why you can't keep Johnny down is spite. But like,
Yeah, driven by spite. Yeah.
but some guy hitting golf balls on the moon, bathroom in his pants, and he thinks he's better than me. Like there's like no logic for that. And I love it. That is why I keep coming back to it. But yeah, because I was drawn to it because like I'm a big giant they fan as well. And like I'm showing my age. Like I was first introduced to like in Tiny Toon Adventures because they had a couple of music video episodes.
Oh yeah, they did the Istanbul, not Constantinople,
and Particle Man.
Particle Man.
And then they've done a couple of other like childrenny music, like children's show music videos, or like, and they've since released children's albums. But yeah, so I was kind of like right at that age where a couple of their music videos like were in my rotation of cartoons already. But I never got into them until college, and I had a flatmate, dorm mate, who coincidentally was also named Rob, and like I'm a tall guy, he's a taller guy, who introduced me to They Might Be Giants as a whole. And but we never got really around to it, mostly because it's college. We have a bunch of stuff going on, and like I don't have like I can kind of play drums, but I don't have good musical talent otherwise, or even for the drums. But we were actually going to form like a They Might Be Giants tribute band called They Actually Might Be Giants because I'm 6'3", he's around 6'6",
Oh, damn.
and we were both Rob. So like it was all sorts of layers in there.
Rob and Rob, it's perfect.
Yeah, for those of you not familiar with They Might Be Giants, the core members of the band are both named John. And then for a while, the band was 2 Johns and 3 Dans as well.
Yeah, now they've settled on 2 Johns, 2 Dans, and a Marty.
Marty Beller Mask even, but they retired that song. But like, but just like that's one of the things like I listen, like I keep an ear out for on the indie scene is just like songs that you don't expect to hear like as entrance music. Not that they don't necessarily fit as his entrance music, but you just don't. Again, you don't necessarily hear some of like some of the stylings of say like your They Might Be Giants out there because again like it's dominated by hip hop and metal and variations of hard rock.
Yeah, people want to do like Beartooth or like Sleep Token or like like the heavy radio stuff right now, but
yeah,
no, dude, I'm pulling stuff from 2 old men from New York.
It's fine. And though I will point out there because I'm such a nerd, you're not the first person I've heard use They Might Be Giants. as theme music. Um,
Oh,
yeah, there
really?
was a gentleman, and this is actually like the second time I brought him up the podcast. Gentleman that went by Skeeter McCoy, and like he did a couple show, like I don't know how much he actually wrestled, but he didn't seem to last long in the business. But like in like 2003, 2002, like did a handful of shows in Chikara, and did a couple of shows in IWA Mid South, and maybe a couple other places. But he used Absolutely Bill's Mood from their self-titled album
Ooh.
as a theme, and like it didn't fit, but like also that dude really, I mean, didn't fit either. Like he was just so like in the wacky world of professional wrestling, he might have been too weird for wrestling. Like,
Which is interesting because wrestling, me speaking, obviously, wrestling is full of weird and interesting. You put in quotations, interesting people.
but yeah, like I knew him from, like I saw him originally in Chikara because it was a huge Chikara fan. Like sadly, it didn't end well. But like but
Yeah,
they did
unfortunately.
a couple of like we'll call it director's commentaries of like the first two shows, and where Skeeter was, and they kind of talked about how like he was too weird for his wrestling school, and that he had worked with Ace Darling um, out in Pennsylvania, but didn't finish just because he was out there, and he kind of like finished up at the Wrestle Factory, and it's like, well, that's interesting. And then I got to meet Ace Darling, and I tried to talk to him about it, and it didn't ring a bell at all. So it didn't go anywhere.
Oh
Sad
man,
face.
that's if I had a little bit more money when I started. Uh, God, I really thought about going to the Wrestle Factory.
There's so like and I guess we can tailor back into it, because like I it's one of the things I find fascinating is like where people choose to go take their training from, because like I mean last 15 years there's been an explosion of wrestling schools, and wrestling schools run by like full on reputable folks who's had success in the business. And so like hearing where people have chose to go for various reasons, or like how they traveled from across the country to go here, like why why did they leave Washington to go to Flatback in Florida, and etc., is like a fascinating thing for me. So I guess we'll go with the twofold question of like we talked about your musical tastes. What got you into professional wrestling, and then what got you into the what made you want to cross the barrier into actually training and getting in the ring?
Oh man. Um, well, unfortunately, I have the boring answer of I've been a wrestling fan most of my life. Um, catching it started with catching random SmackDowns on UPN way back in the days of basic cable. So like I've told the story before, like when it clicked for me. This is my brother as well is also a professional wrestler. Um, Damian Deschain. I don't know if you've or he's done some stuff with like Dreamwave and stuff. Like he's out and around Dreamwave, Zawa, like Destination 6 around the Illinois basically. But there's a really funny story that's like my earliest memory with wrestling is I'm like at my grandma's house, and I swear my brother and I have argued about this. I swear I'm in my grandma's room watching SmackDown. He thinks we were in the living room, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. But it was, and I've tried looking it up. It's like a summer '02 SmackDown. It was like Eddie Guerrero and somebody else. So of course, they were cooking way more than they should have been for over the air TV. But it was one of those. My brother walks in. He's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, SmackDown. He's like, "Who's that?" And he points at Eddie Guerrero. And I'm like, "That's Eddie Guerrero." And he's like, "Oh, I like him." Now you have to you have to remember that we're literal children. We're like, I don't know, 8 and 4 or like 7 and 3 or something. Like but it's one of those that started from an incredibly early age, and then it coming from a single mom who did her best. She's doing great now. Like, mom's an inspiration, but she was grinding it out for a while. But incidentally, a great way to entertain the kids for a night for cheap is local wrestling. So like, oh good god, like 2005, I think, this is when we started going to like local indie stuff. And again, there I'm like 9 or 10 years old, so it's been it's been more or less an obsession for most of my life.
I nothing wrong with that. I mean, I will say I will throw out there lifelong fan of professional wrestling. Like some like the earliest some of my earliest cognizant memories involved wrestling on the television in some way, shape, or form. Usually either A with my father or just left alone. In my case, in my grandmother's house, because she had like a living room and like a foyer that she also used as a living room. Like it was a second living room. Both had televisions, so like the kids could go watch TV in one room, and the adults could go converse in another room with that also had a television. And
Perfect
yeah,
setup.
so like we it was usually Sunday, so we had like yeah, I think that was All American Wrestling on Sundays because she had cable, and then like and then
Ooh.
at home like I remember would be sitting with my dad and he liked wrestling, so like that's just that's just what we watched. And then for me it was like that's when the cartoony world of WWE really took forth because I'm old. Like I'm the rock and wrestling generation there. So
Oh
so I got
man.
like the real
Yeah,
life
no,
cartoon characters, and then segueing that into still like young enough to appreciate like the characters of the new generation as well, because I was still just young enough to appreciate a wrestling garbage man and a wrestling plumber, and whatnot too. So like for me that was just a natural progression of wrestling until, and then I look back as like an adult going like, huh, I can see why people would make fun of that and why it is probably like people just made fun of it in general. But I still have
yeah.
a soft spot for that. So no shame. Like especially for a wrestling podcast, there is no shame for when you got into it. You could have been a fan. You may have just gotten into it 2 years ago. I don't care. You're into it now. That's the important thing. We are now friends.
Absolutely.
um, but we got a lifelong fan. So I'll throw there. I am a lifelong fan, but I never crossed the barricade. I have not not done any training or anything like that. But like what drove you to get trained, and kind of where did you go to get trained?
All right. Uh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to put the story together in my head because it's a dumb it's the perfect wrestling story. It's dumb, but it's like if you dig into it, it's a little bit inspiration you can pull from it. um, Actually getting into wrestling, like getting trained. I was at the quote unquote last Dreamwave show from their original run. It was like 2016. So I've been into wrestling for like a decade plus at that point. Big annoying smart internet fan. Like all the best ones are before they actually learn how to do stuff. But there was let's see, Chris Hero was doing a meet and greet there because Dreamwave loves bringing in whoever for guests, which is awesome. Like as a fan, I loved meeting all those different people. They'd bring in legends and big indie names and whatever. It's Dreamwave, they're a big company. Um, but no, I was oh god, shitty little oh sorry little 19-year-old stinker spent too much time on r/squared circle and like woo. You guys remember 420 Chan? Um, but no, I was like, I didn't have any money, obviously, because I'm like 17, so I'm the last guy in line. Like, I think the show is like starting because I can hear the crowd coming back up for the second half of the show, and like Chris Hero is like getting up, going to the elevator to go back up to where the locker room is at the Dreamwave venue. And again, I've stressed I'm like 18 or 19 here, so like you think it'd be cool like as a little kid or whatever, but no, there's chubby little Dakota running up to Chris Hero like, "Oh, Mr. Hero, Mr. Hero, I'm a huge fan. I've thought long and hard about getting into wrestling. What do you think?" And like as he's stepping into the elevator, it's an absolute blow off. He hits me with "Follow your dreams, kid," as he's walking in. So it's obviously like, "Oh, get this mark away from me," kind of deal. But for some reason, like that flipped a switch inside me that like, oh, maybe I should follow my dreams. That was December of 2016, and by March of 2017, I was signed up for Zawa, the Zen of Wrestling Academy, which is what it was. Not to be confused with the current Zawa, the wrestling show, which is the Zen of Wrestling Association. Same acronym, but there's differences for the two people, me included, who care about that. Unfortunately, Zawa doesn't exist anymore. Like, the school doesn't. But I was in the first class for Zawa.
And that Christian Rose was he the lead trainer at that time?
Yeah, it was Christian Rose, Bobby the Business Houston, which is local name around here, but he was from the Carolinas. He wrestled up and down the Mid-Atlantic area. He's one of those guys that he's forgotten more about wrestling than you and I will ever learn. He's just a font of wrestling knowledge. But he's happy now. He's got a wife and kids. So be cool if he still wrestled, but he's got a whole family going.
Oh. I can't say anything. Like the schedule alone for wrestling is and can be terrible, especially if you got little ones and going on. And so like you got to do what's best for you and your family. No shame there. Christian Rose though is a name like a lot of us Midwesterners know, and at various points, like I'll throw myself there as a guy, big fan of his work, because like I've said at various points, like he's been on my like short list of like if I had promotion money, like stable promotion money, like he's a guy I would bring in. Like depending on how much money I had and the names I could bring in, he may not be my champion, but like he's another guy that I find like he's so like yeah, we throw this term around a lot, but underrated for like the amount of notoriety he's gotten with compared to how good he is. Like because he can make you laugh, he can piss you off, but like regardless of where
sure,
he falls in the
sure.
alignment, whether you agree with him or not, like he is going to put everything into the show, and is a darn good wrestler to boot. Like he's one of my like favorite guys that I could go like, that guy deserves a little bit more. And I don't know him, no parasocial relationship. So I could speculate all day on opportunities, and sometimes opportunities don't get had because of your own like specific choices of choosing not to go that direction. But like I think it's like he's someone like I really wanted to see more of in general. But again, if as long as he's living his dream, that's the important thing at the end of the day. But so I bet, but
yeah, he's still making towns.
Oh, yeah.
He's still got a full schedule.
Oh yeah, because he's fairly active with Dreamwave. He does Zawa. He's been popping up in Destination 6. Like those are just the three I could think of off the top of my head. And I know he's popped up periodically for 01 USA and like wherever. So like yeah, he's still at it, still making us laugh, cry, and yeah. Again, depending on the day, just want to throw things at him. But
exactly.
but so what was it like, being able to train under Bobby and Christian?
It was super cool. Especially for me as a dude who grew up like watching, Bobby and with the Beck family, or whatever, Mason Beck and Waylon and them in like early Dreamwave. And Christian's been in Dreamwave basically as long as they've been around. So it was at first it was a little intimidating because it's one of those like, oh, these big scary guys that have been, throwing each other around, and now I gotta. You guys want me to fall down? But no, for real though, it is super. It's super cool, and as good of a professional wrestler as Christian Rose is, he's just as good, if not better, as a teacher, which is hard because like I've been. Well, it's weird to say. I've been around long enough where like I could like if someone was desperate, I could help out at like a training, but I'm not a good teacher. It takes a certain kind of person to be able to impart the wisdom that you've collected over the years.
Oh, most definitely. Like that's being able to take a talent and then be able to explain how to replicate it is like is a magic skill. And then like focusing on like again teaching is not a copy paste kind of thing. So I taught like I've had Merrick Brave on the show, and I've talked to him about how like one of the little things like about how just the difficulties of coaching, and then how his coaching style has changed because he's, for those of you not aware, the head trainer of Black and Brave in Davenport, Iowa, and they have been, I think this is year 11 that they've had that school open, and so we talked about like how that changed, how coaching philosophy, and then how coaching philosophy and techniques like change with the students and over time, because things that we do now we would call soft like 15 years ago, and things that we did 15 years ago we would say were abhorrent and not conducive to life, let alone a training environment, as etc.
Yeah.
And so like it's a skill, especially if you can have students that go off and end up doing cool things and make a name for themselves in some way, shape, or form. um but like
Yeah.
I think.
And especially uh
Yep.
sorry, especially with like Black and Brave or like the Wrestle Factory or another one that I was looking into when I was first looking uh into schools was the House of Truth up in Detroit, Truth Martini School. Because I was looking in like 2016, 2017, so there wasn't a whole lot of not nearly as many wrestling schools as there were. Like I think Black and Brave was open, but it was like one of the first few classes.
Yeah.
But it and what I was getting at with that though was like with Black and Brave, there's a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen kids in a class. Um, I think with Zawa, the first class started with 10 people, and by the end we had 4 that actually went on to graduate. I had to stick behind. There's 3-month blocks for wrestling training, and then after my 3 months, they were like, "Ah, you might need a little more work there, bud." So I got to do 3 more months, and I mean it's fine by me. Like I say I don't catch on as quickly, but like I'm one of those guys that need a couple examples before I can really get into it. No, it's cool the different ways that like people train because like with a school like Zawa where it's smaller, you get a lot more like one-on-one time with the trainers, whereas like with like Black and Brave or like Wrestle Factory, it's a lot. I feel like it's a lot more of a struggle to get that good one-on-one coaching time when you've got you know 20 other people waiting to do their roles.
It's just like, well, I don't want to say real school, but it's just like high school or grade school. Like they know, like studies show, smaller class sizes, usually lead to a better learning environment, and part of that is just that one-on-one attention, because that's so that you can pick out, who's struggling and actually have the time to work with who's struggling, rather than just being like, I got 30 kids here, I got to reach them all somehow, and do your best that way. Um, and I know, and I'm not doing this, making this as a slight as any person, because obviously, like, we we still do, do those things in like every sort of like training environment. I mean, we look at the even like the WWE system, like it's an actual factory of like how they train and drill, just with like so many coaches and so many students they have down in the performance center. So
Yeah, they have an entire system going there, which is awesome because like it's every school will teach you how to bump, but there's any good school will teach you how to like cut promos and like develop your character and whatnot. But it's just easier with, like you said, with the smaller classroom, because then you can decide like, oh, Dakota, he's getting the moves down, but he's still got happy feet in between the spots. So we got to work on planting your feet in between arm drags or whatever. Like, it's super cool,
right.
and it's probably the only way that I got through it, because like it looking at me, like, I'm 5.5 feet tall. I'm somewhere around 200 pounds. Like, you know, probably should have washed out, but there was something in there that had me stick it through, and you know, here I am coming up on, oh god, it'll be 8 years in July for my first match.
Well, see, that can make you the that can make you the veteran in the locker room, much to your chagrin, as the way you were talking earlier.
I've had a handful of matches where it's we've decided through process of elimination that I am the vet in the match, and that is terrifying.
I again, not a wrestler, but I've had jobs where like the turnover rate is high, and I'm like 5 years in, and I am like the unofficial staff lead, because I'm the only one who's still there out of this batch of folks.
You've stuck around long enough, yeah. You know how.
Like, I like to think
how this all
I like to
works.
think I'm competent, but like it's still like as a whole like a terrifying thought of like now people are coming to you for the advice, and like I will like, oh no, that like I'm in charge, like I'm unofficially in charge. They'll come to me before they come to the
Yeah.
actual
Oh,
supervisor.
crap.
Oh no.
I gotta figure out what I do. Now I gotta figure out what you do.
And like Lord knows, like I've done training, like I've taught people, like I feel like I'm competent, but like don't get me wrong, like when I'm forced to teach, like I don't I'm more concerned about like the concept than I am like following every step to the hole, and I've been literally peed on because of that. um like that's not a joke.
Where are you working? That's
I worked residential for with those with developmental disabilities.
Oh man.
And
Oh dude, you are a saint.
but I love this story. It's hilarious. Like I feel bad for the guy, but because he was at that point in his life, but he was older, his body wasn't working as such. um and he was mostly bedridden, and I was teaching a newer staff how to change the individual, and deal with the bedding and whatnot. And like, so like you got to roll them like this. It works better if you do XYZ. You got to roll up the bed the bed pad like this, and that way it just goes up and down and under him, and da 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 da. And in all this, like, I forgot to put up what I call the P shield, and basically it was just another bed pad that I put over the guy while he's exposed to us. And that way, because the body, you start moving the body that isn't used to being moved, things start working. So but I didn't do that. I was busy talking, making sure the guy knew how to move the staff knew how to move the individual safely and comfortably. And like and as I'm doing this, I start hearing water draining. I'm like, that's odd. We are in a bedroom. Like, and we're not attached to a bathroom, and so I'm like, where? And it's a 1-floor group home, so I'm like, where's this water coming from? And I just kind of like listen as I'm like keeping an ear out as I'm talking, and then I see it dripping down the side of the bed with a stream, and then I notice it's coming down, like getting my pant legs too, and I'm like, that is pee. I am being peed on, and I
man.
instinctively I just hop back and go like, ah, like I didn't scream, but just like, oh, like startled. And the guy noticed this because he's cognizant mostly, and he did say like, what'd you jump for? And I'm like, I got peed on. And he stops for a moment and goes, by who? And that broke me. The by who broke me. But he's like, by who? I paused for a moment, like trying to formulate my words gently, because again, I am dealing with someone who's like he's a bit higher functioning compared to a lot of the folks in the home, but we're still dealing with maybe like 12 to 15-year-old here mentally. But I'm just choosing my words carefully. I'm finally just like, okay, man, there are 3 people in this room, and one of us is not wearing pants. And then hope and let him read in between the lines. And so if he didn't read in between the lines, he would just let it go. Or if he did, we will jump that hurdle. And he just kind of like, oh, sorry.
Oh God.
I'm like, it's all good, man. It's fine. There are things I could have done differently. No hard feelings, and there wasn't any. Like he didn't pee on me on purpose, and I didn't take the time to do what I needed to do.
Yeah, no, it's hard to do that stuff when you're
Yeah,
when you're trying to train as well. That just reminded me.
yeah, because I'm trying to take care of like a living, breathing person, and show another human being how to take care of that living, breathing person that I'm taking care of. And again, like he didn't do it. Like I might have had a slightly different response if it was done on purpose or with ill intent. But the fact that he didn't even know he was peeing, like, how can you get mad at him?
You can't get mad at that, exactly.
Like, even if it wasn't my fault that I didn't take the precautions, like the fact that he didn't know, like, there was no ill will there. What are you going to do about it? Well, I tell you what you should have done. I should have put up the pee guard. I would have gotten peed on. But I enjoy that story just because it's one of those like nobody got hurt, but it's still WTF, matey. Like, what is this life? And like there's a lot of chunks of it I don't miss, but there's the little things like that I miss. I will go on the record of saying I miss horribly. And I've said people like I've told like some trainees like they like, what's your favorite part of the job? And I've always said it's the stuff that makes me go, huh? Because just so many like weird things have happened to me in the context of my 10 years of doing residential care that aren't normal by any stretch of the imagination. And then now I'm into wrestling podcasting where I'm hearing a whole different batch of stories that go like, well, that's not a normal life experience right there. But now we turn the tables in this podcast, and now I'm full on telling stories about my job, which actually cheap plug. If you go to, I'm trying to remember the exact web address. It's Bandcamp, I think, Casanova, CASSONOVA. I have like a spoken word album, kind of like detailing my time as a residential assistant and just talking about the WTFs in fun story form while trying to like educate the masses of what it was like to work residential in that time period in the early to mid 2000s and 2000 teens. But I digress.
Oh man, like I was saying though, no, you're a saint. I got a buddy who's like a DSP, like a direct service professional, or however the actual acronym is, but it's those people are saints, man. Like I can barely take care of myself. I can't imagine taking care of other people.
And with a group of folks, I say like the difficulty is that they're like they have the mentality of children, but some of those children can be 6'5", 300 pounds, and think about dealing with like a 6-year-old, and then now they're 6 foot tall, and it makes life interesting at various points. And like I have so many just stupid weird stories that like if nobody got hurt or if someone got hurt, it was very slight, but like just so many I've had, and I don't know what it says about me because I've also had a bipolar schizophrenic with the cognitive capacity of a 2-year-old call me crazy. So I don't know what that's I don't know what that says about
Huh.
me. At least that was before she was bench pressing wheelchairs and chucking them at people,
Oh man.
and she was like 76 when that happened. Right, we're just gonna make a happy little circle of where we don't think that wheelchair can go. Everyone, just stay back, watch the show from a safe distance, just like wrestling. See the action coming your way. Get the old Ian Rottenism in there. If the action's coming your way, it is grab your shit and move. Oh, but tailoring over, mentioning Ian Rotten, just out of morbid curiosity, since you've been around, you might have been around long enough. Have you gotten to work with the IWA family and Ian Rotten?
No, I haven't, unfortunately. I've got a couple of friends who have done shots for Ian, but I never got around to getting down to Louisville or Evansville or wherever would let him run.
Right. He's been a nomad. He's got to work Joliet for a bit. He'd worked Belleville, Illinois for a bit too. Because that was my
Oh, that's right.
experience.
Yeah.
You haven't lived until Ian Rotten tries to sell you a DVD with a dollar bill stapled to his forehead. But but like, I know indies are weird, and when people are on their way up, on their way down, you never know where they're gonna cross into things. And so like, if sometimes like, oh well, the timeline works out, like maybe like you got to work XYZ, and then I also have to remember that I'm also dealing with people who get hit in the head for a living too, so I can like mark out all I want and pull up a match that, like, a pull up cage match and be like, oh, you worked this person on such and such a date, and then it was just a Saturday for whomever.
Yeah, no, speaking as a guy with wrestler brain, I love cage match.
I like it because, well, I mean, we've already determined by this point in the interview that I like WTF kind of things, and so like I use cage match to be like, well, that's a weird matchup for so and so, like, or just like doing my like faux research for the podcasts. Like I was like, oh, that person got to work, someone interesting, and maybe and hopefully they remember enough of a story about that, even though maybe it only happened just once, and like blah blah blah. Which actually reminds me, because I did cage match you, and you're there. You have a real Lincoln cage match if you didn't know.
Yeah, I've done enough that I'm noteworthy enough to be on cage match, dude. It's awesome.
But I just had to plug out for a friend of the show. But you got to work old wrestling. Like how did, if you remember, like how did that come about?
Old wrestling, which was awesome, by the way. I went up there with High Voltage Cat Carter. She was booked, I believe to referee, because she does whatever,
She does everything.
Refs wherever. She's ring announcing for St. Louis Anarchy. She wrestles. She helped me run a show one time. It's incredible. But she was booked. It was I can't remember where now, but it was a fair show. I got dragged along. You get the nice 5-hour drive from Illinois out to the middle of Ohio, and as they were putting the card together, and as it is with wrestling, there was someone who couldn't make it. Someone got caught up in something, and so there's always oh well, I brought my gear. So it ended up working out that the first match off that show was me versus Marion Fontaine. Well, sorry, that was my lineage. My great grandfather, I believe.
I haven't got to watch that. It's on my list now. I have to see if it's up on IWTV, because they've got spot shows on IWTV. But it's now on my list.
I sure hope it is. That's good archival footage.
Because I was going to ask, like, what did you end up doing to like oldify yourself? Because I know actually you brought up like my great, your great grandfather or whoever. Like one of their shows next month has EC3 and evidently he is excuse me, there's EC3's grandfather, EC1, going to be on the show.
Perfect.
But no, but that's why I love old wrestling, is that they have all these characters and people get to do something a little bit different. Unless you're Tracy Smothers, then you just get to be Tracy Smothers because Tracy Smothers is 120 years old or something. Everyone's old timey, and then they're just Tracy Smothers getting to wrestle a bear. Which is also, if you can catch that on IWTV, if you have an IWTV, that is worth the IWTV subscription alone, is watching Tracy Smothers work a bear in old wrestling. that and his match with Odorous from Guar in IWA East Coast, those two matches.
Hold on, what?
Are yeah, he it was Madman Pondo's birthday bash. It was like the show is, I want to say, oh, it has to be like pretty darn old, because Drake Younger. This is before Drake Younger got signed as a referee in WWE, and he worked the show. But it was like Pondo's birthday bash, and Tracy Smothers wrestled Odorous from Guar in a loser must leave Earth match.
Perfectly Guar.
And so like if anybody knows what a Guar is, or late stage Tracy Smothers, like that is all you need to know. And the match delivers in like every stretch of the imagination, because Odorous doesn't even come out to Guar. Odorous comes out to Raining Blood by Slayer. So he doesn't even use a Guar song as his entrance theme. And Odorous literally shakes every person in the front row's hand as part of his entrance. Like, literally just like, "Hey, how are you doing? I'm Odorous," and then like repeats it all the way over. Like, luckily they're in like a theater stage, so we only had to go like the first row is only like is maybe like 20 people, and it doesn't go all the way around, but it's just hilarious. And then Tracy Smothers, may he rest, is doing all of the late stage Tracy Smothers stuff, so he's rocking like every Memphis trick of the trick, where and using the catchphrase, of course, that he poked me in the eye, he pulled my hair, he pulled my tights, he used a closed fist, he used a foreign object. And if I hear Tracy sucks one more time, everybody's gonna straight up die, ultra mega mass homicide. All that good stuff. And it's
it's a regret that I never got to share the locker room with Tracy. I've heard those late Tracy stories, and they just sound absolutely insane.
I mean, he loved the business, and I've never heard anything bad about him. But like but like seeing like what he's done, like as a character, like dare I say, like as his body started to fail him, because Father Time is undefeated. But he went from he went from being a worker's worker to very much a Memphis style worker, and of course he just went out there as far as he could in the process. And it was hilarious. Like, I watched him threaten to slap a baby because the mother was booing him. He threatened to sign the entire crowd up. We were in Pekin, Illinois. He threatened to sign the entire crowd up for Obamacare, which was like it was great. It's like, if I hear Tracy sucks one more time, I'm going to sign you all up for Obamacare. Oh wait, we're in Illinois, so I bet you all voted for that anyway. And he forgot, like, he was wrestling as Shane Hollister, and he forgot Shane Hollister was from Iowa, and just kept saying, "I know you're slow because you're from Illinois, and Illinois doesn't compare to Tennessee." Like, Shane's like, I'm from Davenport, Iowa, man, and Illinois sucks. Illinois sucks. I just like kept going with it, and Shane's just standing there confused.
God, what a legend!
And I appreciate young Tracy and his work as a working man, a working wrestler. Like, he was amazing in the day, but old man Tracy hits all of my favorite entertainment spots as a terrible
because no one's doing the Memphis style stuff. So like, because that was 30 years ago or whatever at the time, whatever. Yeah. So oh god, it's beautiful.
and he went all out there with it too. Like that was the thing, is like he didn't just do Memphis. Like he almost did it to like a nonsensical degree. Like he ran through that laundry list of everything his opponent did to him. Like before, like at the first tie up. Like that was the first tie up that they pulled his eyes, poked his eyes, used a closed fist, pulled his tights, and used a foreign object. Like this wasn't 5 minutes into a match or anything.
Oh man.
Like there's so many things like I've just watched Tracy do, because he finished his career kind of in the area, and man,
Yeah, and I still missed him somehow. He was doing just random central and southern Illinois indies for the longest time, and somehow I was stuck up in like the northern half of the state.
and you were very much coming like starting to come up about the time he was, I mean, really winding down his career too. So like, yeah, you didn't have a whole lot of
Oh no,
opportunity
there might have been a
to do it.
2 year period there.
Yeah, but you occasionally share a locker room with Dan the Man. Like he's gotten to team up and work with Tracy a couple times. Actually, one of my favorite Tracy memories involves Dan, because Dan was using Daniel Bryan's yes and no thing, and they were doing like a War Games match in Bellevue, Illinois. It was Dan, Tracy, Marcus Crane, another one who left us too soon, and I can't remember the fourth guy. Is it Kyle something? And his gimmick is basically that he grew up in Pekin. Like that. That's why we should cheer for him, is that he's a local boy. But and then they were taking on what was left of the Smothers family, because Tracy left illegitimate children and cousins everywhere. But it was Ryan Phoenix, uh, um, and Corbin Blade, and some other folks I'm forgetting because I'm old and I don't have the cage match in front of me. But the baby faces, so Dan, Tracy, Marcus, etc., are like cutting this promo, and they're trying to end it on a big like rah rah. Are we going to quit? No, because it's War Games. There's no pinning. It's submit or surrender. Are we going to give up? No. Are we going to quit? No. And Dan's also leading him in like the Daniel Bryan no chance. So he's like, no, no, no. And so, so they're doing that. And Dan goes, are we going to quit? And Tracy got a wire cross somewhere, starts going, yes, yes, yes. And Marcus had to like gently remind Tracy that no, they in fact are not going to quit. So like the entire crowd's going no with Dan, and then Tracy's over there, yes.
Oh, God. Dude, like you said though, Marcus Crane's another dude that left us way too soon. Like especially with the way that like the deathmatch scene is blown up in the last 5 years. Oh my God, like I'm pretty sure he was already going over and doing like Big Japan and stuff, but like he should have been everywhere.
Yeah, so he did, I think, get to main event Karukin for one of the shows. It might have been Big Japan, but yeah, like and yeah, he's a big part of the early
Big Japan or Freedoms or something.
Yeah. But yeah, he was another one. Fun fact: my mother owned, because she's past two, unfortunately. But she owned like only one wrestling shirt, and it was a Marcus Crane shirt.
Oh hell yeah!
Of all people, like my like mom would have been like, oh gosh, like 60, like 62, 63 when we went. It's actually the first wrestling show she'd been since she's a child. We finally conned her into going, and nice. I jokingly, like, we walked by the merch table and I jokingly said, like, hey mom, you should buy that shirt. It was a Marcus Crane Dream Eater shirt with a neon green and purple
sandworm. Oh yeah, hell yeah,
like OG Marcus Crane merch. And like I was just joking because it was just something like bizarre and kind of like garishly ugly. And she looked at it and went like, oh, I love those colors, how much is it? I'm like, you don't have to buy it, mom. I'm joking. Like, you don't have to do this. No, I really like those colors. And like, it's $20. Oh, I have 20 on me. Do you have X size? And like, okay, Robbie, hold my purse. I'm gonna go change. And like, like cool. Like, that's awesome. So like we're at the beer stew in Moline, Illinois. Mom comes up.
Oh, that rules. That reminds me, I've got a pair of Dream Eater like joggers sitting in a closet somewhere.
Like I'll also about myself. Like I got the T-shirt too, but like Tyler Pregel left his in the ring after the show was over, so I just nabbed it.
Might as well.
Like he didn't come back for it. It'd been like we stood around for like 15 minutes, just kind of like jaw jacking with ourselves and the people that we'd been sitting with, and like whatever. And I just figured like they were literally taking the ring apart if he hadn't claimed it. To it was fair game. So took it home, washed it. It's still in my closet actually, because I'm kind of too fat for it now too. Because like most of us, we've all just gotten a little bit bigger with age, and so I've publicly thrown it out there that I may have stolen Tiger Priggle's entrance shirt from from like 12, 13 years ago.
I'm sure by now you're good.
I mean, so I mean, not to cast shade, but like he's still like around my size, so it's probably not fitting him all that well either.
Oh god, no, he just beat the absolute crap out of me at Poopies, which is a biker bar up in the at Savannah, Illinois. It's the northwestern corner of the state. It's up by the Quad Cities area. But I just had to wrestle him at there like last month, and he's not showing any signs of slowing down, man. Like that backbreaker is still killer.
Oh yeah, like I've seen him a handful of times just this summer, and like it's actually been a very long time since I've gotten to see him live, and like no, he's still rocking it. He's still as good as he ever was. So, which is a testament to the human body, if nothing else. Man, we got on a couple of tirades there. I do, before I let you go, we touched on it, and I was going to ask about it anyway, and I was hoping to ask it since you brought it up a little bit earlier, but then Tracy Smothers took over, as he is wont to do in this household. But you mentioned you got to promote a show with High Voltage Cat. So like how did that come about, and like what was that experience like?
Oh man, promoting is really hard. Like just off the rip here, promoting is very hard. It's incredibly involved, and it was my show, ostensibly. I put up the money for it, but Kat was instrumental. Like I literally could not have done the show without her. Um, but it started as like as you would, it's like bits in like the DMs, or like while texting, like you send a clip from like AEW or WWE or whatever, and like, oh man, I could have done that better if I had that kind of money. Obviously, like I don't have unlimited money, so it was just months of like, oh, wouldn't this be funny if we did this, did that, blah blah blah. And eventually I decided, like, what, yeah, screw it, let's do this. We've jokingly put together like half the card by now. Let's see what happens, basically. So I ran a show in I'm a blank on Philo, Illinois, which is it's like just south of Champaign. My thought process was like, Champaign, big college town, there's obviously University of Illinois here, but there's also like a community college. People are gonna be out and about and busy, like, I don't think we're gonna draw very well. So my idea was like, oh, we'll go to one of the satellite towns around the Champaign area. Maybe they don't want to go into the city. Maybe they, don't have anything to do. Still ended up drawing like 25 or 30 people. So, the logic didn't really fly. But, I still like to think we put on a pretty good show. It was a fun mix of talent. Like I brought in Tim Boston, which is like a Nebraska dude. He's Cold Stone Tim Boston. He's like it's a Stone Cold parody, but like, he's a big ice cream guy. He comes out with a giant ice cream scoop. I loved him.
I love ice cream, so that's put his name down.
That's the dumb stuff that I love in wrestling, is that I love the out there wacky stuff. obviously, like, you look at me. But no, dude, promoting is really hard and incredibly stressful. And how do I put this kindly? I took a bath on that show
Oh,
like crazy. It took about 7 or 8 months, but I got it paid off.
oh, I mean, I'm not going to ask you for numbers, but I remember reading somewhere that that it was basically, I don't know, it's supposed to be education, maybe even a warning, but they said something like you may think you love wrestling, you may think you want to do like run a show if you don't think you can actually wrestle, but if you're going to run a show, you need to have 10 grand fluid cash like right then and there available to lose, that because the odds of you running a show that's going to you know make profit without like a bunch of extra stuff going on is not
Oh
good.
man.
And so like be
And
prepared.
with money like that, I probably could have ran like the State Farm Center. But no, we got a community building that used to be an elementary school. It's a super cool venue. We were like set up in their gym. So we got that good like, that school gym, that old indie wrestling feel.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not out of place in the realm of independent wrestling. I mean, at least you had a place with like a solid floor in theory or whatever.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, they had benches out there. It was awesome.
I cut my teeth in the Bellevue Plaza, which was an old elementary school that should have been condemned. So
Oh man.
it still had signs up promoting like Radio Shack security systems. Like that's like
Oh
how like
man.
and this and I will qualify that I may be old, but like I'm not old enough to have actually seen a proper working Radio Shack security system. so like I'm using this to show like how like how little care they took about the rest of the building. Like there was a hardware store like in like the administrative section of the building, but like the rest of the school was just kind of left to do whatever. And
that, oh man, that's a
but
crazy visual. You just got like your local ace set up in like the principal's office.
yeah, like and like we didn't get to go in that part because again it was like the administrative wing, so it was like quasi. I mean, it was still part of the same building, but it's one of those like sectioned off areas, so you couldn't get anywhere or near there.
Oh,
But we,
okay, that
but
makes
we
more sense.
but we joked that like one of the managers that we were pretty sure like was the manager of the hardware store, because he was just rocking like he was just an old dude rocking jeans and suspenders and just seeing glasses, and had just a big old mustache. Like it looked like they just grabbed him from the hardware store and made him manage a match. Like, but I don't actually know because it's wrestling. Lord only knows. Like the
It's
people get drug out like from random spots to be to have random jobs that they
it, it's
didn't.
it's toss up. Yeah, he could have been
Might have been
either.
relation to somebody like you know might have been a top sponsor or something of the like. I don't know, whatever. But again, the wacky world of professional wrestling, you never know where things are, where you're going to be as a fan, as a wrestler, manager, etc., and you just never know who you're going to see. Like it's crazy.
No, God, no. It's never a dull
Never a
moment
dull moment.
on the indie scene, man. It's always, whether good or bad, there's always something going on.
And that's why we love it, because where else, man. But I've kept you, I think, long enough, and you've gotten to, in a weird batch of things, got to hear my stories, which is not normally the norm on here. But we'll kind of wind things down. Where can we find you online? And if you've got any shows that you're appearing on in the near future, go ahead and plug those too.
Alrighty. You could find me um on Facebook, though social media, I need to get back into using it more. I'm mostly active on Twitter, um at Dak Wrestleford, DAK Wrestle FORD. But Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you search like, literally I have it listed Dakota hyphen professional wrestler, as for shows, let's see here. I don't know how soon this comes out, but on the 27th of June, next week, basically, I'll be at the Morrison Sports Complex in Morrison, Illinois for a Zawa show. There's actually that whole weekend is Zawa shows. I just had it pulled up. Facebook, of course, had to refresh on me. So the 27th in Morrison, Illinois, the 28th in Polo, Illinois. At that's a fair show. That's at Polo's Town and Country Days. And the 29th is did it again on me. The 29th is in Wooddale, Illinois, at the Wooddale Prairie Fest. So the summertime, we're out and about. We're hitting all the festivals, the fairs, the insert town name days here, and I'm digging. I'm digging. Unfortunately, all I have right now are Zawa dates. So if you would like to hit me up for your professional wrestling show, you can hit me up on Twitter and Instagram or Facebook. I even have an email if you keep it old school, Dakota Wrestleford at gmail.com. Bring in your booking inquiries, or if you've got one, I'll just blind message people, man. I need to get back out there.
Say, you gotta make the towns. Though Zawa, I will say, making the town. They compared to a lot of indies. They're working a lot. This past month and next month as well. Yeah, they're kind of.
Oh, it's awesome. They're all up and down the Illinois, like that northern part of Illinois. And they tow a little bit into like the Iowa border. We just had a show in Comanche, Iowa, not too long ago.
And then I think like the Woodlawn one is close to the Chicago suburbs, which I thought was, I mean, go wherever you can, man. But like, oh, that's a little bit out of Zawa's way.
Yeah,
comparatively speaking.
Yeah, no, Wooddale is, that's like a Chicago suburb. Well, I'm sure actual Chicagoans are gonna get mad at me because it's over by like Schaumburg. So like that's not real Chicago.
Well, but there's Chicago in the suburbs and there's the rest of Illinois. That's how that works.
Yeah, like Zawa's running Skokie before. The Skokie shows are awesome. We're just set up right there in the middle of the street. There's like a pizza place right next to it. Oh my god, it's beautiful, man. Zawa's cooking right now.
Yeah, Zawa's finally like their schedule's finally jived with mine in such a way. Like it's one of those like companies that I've meant to keep a bigger eye on, or at least a physical eye on, because it's close enough to where I live. But in the past, like it seemed like the schedule's just never jived from like where I was willing to drive, or something was coming up that weekend or something. Because like Zawa's got a good crew, put on a great family friendly show. And they do specialize for the most part, like a lot of like smaller towns too, so you don't have to worry so much about the traffic. If that's like, if you're like me, like I'm very much anti-traffic, so I will drive to the middle of nowhere because that's home to me, man.
Oh,
dirt roads are home.
Check your local cornfield.
But hey, Dakota, it was great having you on, being able to just tell stories and all that sort of good stuff, and hopefully to see you out there making the towns. I was gonna like, you're usually a good guy. I was about to say like making the children cry, bruh, and do some old Crush, but no, everybody loves Dakota when they see him. And if you haven't seen him, you just don't know you like him yet. So there's my ringing endorsement. But
thank you very much. I had a blast on here, man. Thank you.
But thank you much, man. And I'll get I'll try to remember to put all your pertinent links down in the descriptor, and get some more eyes on us, one way or another. The Confusion Wrestling Podcast is a weekly podcast that is written and performed by Rob Kammer and hosted by Spotify for podcasters. The background music for this section is Ruined by Day, performed by Alan Schroeder. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to help support, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends, family, and enemies. Leaving a review is helpful as well, because word-of-mouth advertisement is very important for us small podcasts. My social media links can be found in the description, but Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky are at The Nova of Cass. That's TheNovaOfCass, and Facebook is MLW Confusion, all one word. If you'd like to support monetarily and help upgrade my equipment, please check out my virtual tip jar at ko-fi.com/Casanova, or if you prefer more bang for your buck, go to patreon.com/Casanova, that's CASSONOVA, where for as little as $2, backers get access to the podcast early and without those pesky ads, plus other exclusive content. So join the crew that is headed up by Keith Wynn, Alan Schroeder, Chris Zach, and Elenia, and check it out. You can also find t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other merch at the Confusion Podcast store on Teespring. Also, be sure to check out the affiliate links in the description below. For business inquiries such as ads, sponsorships, and etc., please email rzkamer, Kamerer, at comcast.net. Thank you all for listening.